All right, Meredith, there's your key.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is RAGIN with Jake Twister. This is episode 35. And wherever it is that you are listening in from, tuning in from, whatever, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this out with your friends. We are simulcasting to Comics and More New Jersey, Indie Volt, Geek Insider, as well as RAGIN AVC. Hit the button and stay tuned. We'll be right back after our intro.
Raging.
That's right, everybody. We are raging with Jake Twister. He's an artist. He's the man behind the avatar. He is sitting with us this evening, episode 35. Hey, Jake. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing quite well. Particularly for being like 3 a.m. Oh, fuck. I'm feeling fine. Top notch.
3 a.m. Now, did you actually take a nap before you came on the show, or have you been up burning the midnight oil all night long?
I slept probably like... I slept probably like 1 or 2 hours. Sorry. I did nap.
I'm a little bit jealous.
Now I'm a little bit livid, and I'm ready. I'm in the bitching hour.
All right. Hey, what is your beverage of choice this evening?
Oh, it's just
or
like
early in the morning.
Sober Fanta.
Oh.
That is what I'm running with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have a glass of wine with you this evening because it's been one of those days. In fact, it's been one of those months. And I'm so glad that it's nearly over. But you've been like super busy on various projects, and we definitely want to talk about that. Tell us about some of these projects. And then I want to get to know a little bit more about you, your Genesis story.
So for the audience, hi, my name is Jake Twister. I'm a Norwegian comics creator, media theorist, whatever it comes like to comics. I have been working actively in comics for about almost a year now. And I am involved in the Twisted Fairy Tales campaign over at INDIEGOGO, which is closing in about 30 hours. So if you haven't heard about the book, now it's the time to listen in because I gotta ship to sell you. And I have been involved with the 9 Volt anthology, created by the Discord server AAA creators community. And I've been super busy with deadlines left and right. Some projects have not followed through. Some have, relatively succeeded. And I'm still like in the grind set, as the young people call it nowadays.
Mm-hmm. So now you said that you've been kind of doing comics for a year. What was the deciding factor to kind of get into comics, and what were you doing beforehand?
So I have been like doing comics on and off, and it's just like a creative impulse, I think, that I've been deciding ever since that I was like a little kid. I actually started to like make a comic on Tumblr back in 2015 and running in 2016, but not much traction and very uninteresting. I would say very self-absorbed. I would say. So after abandoning that, I started university in 2016. And what happened was that after half a year, I felt like I had lost touch with a lot of things. I had no grounds really, and I was migrating into like a stage in life that I hadn't really experienced, and as an artist, that's very hard to like readjust, in particular when you're not surrounded by friends and family. And so my kitchen burnt down. And
Like real for real?
yeah,
Oh man.
a mechanical error in the ventilation system made the thing caught fire. So the whole thing got burnt down. So after trying to save the kitchen by diving in and ending up at the hospital, I didn't get to get back there until like at least for at least the next semester. I got back after like 5-6 months in the same apartment. During that time, I was spending a lot of hours just caught up in like a hospice room, and it felt like serving time. You know, I had no friends, no families. There was little visiting, and I just like fell into my old habits of just playing video games and reading comic books, which I usually do because I'm a mover kid, and I've constantly like moved, so I always like have like some sense of like activity that I'm falling back on in case that I'm like badly decompressing. And I was reading up on books that I hadn't really had the ability to buy, and I thought to myself, hey, I should probably draw too. And so I started to sketch and all that stuff. And then I thought to myself, hey, should we like try to do a comic? In the back of my mind, that was like a hilarious cry of like wanting to do something with my life. But I didn't caught on until like I didn't catch on until like years after that happened. So it didn't go anywhere. I spent the rest of like 2017 trying to like plot out like a little world for like a comic book that I would probably make, and I was flirting with the idea for quite a long time until 2019, and I can't really align up the event there, but it led into 2020 where I had my second bachelor's exam because I failed the first one, and I had like a real hard time adjusting myself to like failure like that. And while working on my dissertation of the bachelor dissertation in Japanese dramatic pictures, Gekiga, I saw an announcement of my LCS who were arranging like this competition for like manga creators. And I thought, hey, I should probably join that. And so I suffered a major like decision paralysis, as I often do because of stress, because I'm really bad at doing like short-term and long-term decisions, make stuff together, and I don't plan well. And I fumbled a lot for 5 months until I got like the time to do my comic in less than a month. So I sped run 20 pages on that and sent it off, and I got the results back later that fall that I didn't succeed. But in the meantime, I was just fooling around on YouTube. I had met a lot of comics creators, and I've been like in the chats talking with people. Lucifer Storm. I've been talking with Marshmake Comics, and it was just like trying to find my way of like building up my education myself, because I'm really eager to like educate myself, autodidactic. What happened was that I ended up in a Discord server with a lot of creators called the AAA community. They were so generous and open and had like open arms to like anyone who wanted to like become somewhat of a published person, or like wanted to excel, create, and that's sort of like what happened throughout that whole period. And I had made like I made a lot of friends and started like networking like crazy. And I thought, yes, I probably should do this. And so when I got like the result back, I figured I should join in on their little anthology venture and see if I could like try to bag one win at least for 2020 after all the mess that happened with COVID. Now that we could talk about it or mention it after the 10-minute mark, because I know that
Right.
you will not be monetized. So,
Your Genesis story then. So, I mean, it was
yeah.
really kind of like finding a Discord server, which I think is odd because I think of Discord for gamers, right? I've personally used Discord for meetings and things like that because you can create different rooms and stuff. But comic books, what was it like finding that group?
Going back to Marsh Makes Comics on YouTube, he had like an anniversary stream, 19th of August 2020, and he along with the creators who were contributing to the anthology, they had like an open invitation to join the server and just like connect with people who were like-minded, who had the same interests and all that stuff. And I just like stumbled in like head first, just dove in and crashed the party in the stream too. So it's basically the same way that happened with Indie Volt. Well, just randomly showing up, just straight diving and fail as fast as possible, and just try to build up from there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. When it comes to, I guess I was aware that Discord served other functions as not facilitating not only gamers, but friends groups and family groups and all that stuff. You can like set it up to be as fluent as possible, but like the topic doesn't have to necessarily track back to gaming. So, and now that the platform has sort of like rebranded itself because of the increase in users, as due to the lockdowns and all that stuff, and trying to compete with Zoom, it is now seen more as like a social platform that is allowing different kinds of groups. So it's not only that there are also groups that existed like before the rebranding that like did LGBT issues and all that stuff, and probably communities out there that discussed religion and other things. So
yeah, because each one of them are private servers. So I mean, you can create different levels for the people who come in. Access to different rooms and things like that. So there's a certain sense of a closed community, if that's what you wish, or having a public server, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah. So for the AAA community, it's a invite-only server. So when you get the invitation, you're free to join in or not, mm-hmm. But you do have like a certain amount of time before you can like before the invitation expires. So mm-hmm. That is not to like to gatekeep anyone. It's just like a necessary precaution, I think, because having the gates open for everyone to join, it sort of like invites a lot of weird things. There have been an odd few bunch that have come in and wanted to sell things, not only views but like illicit material and stuff. So yeah,
I think you were kind of.
Yeah, we got a great moderation team and an administration team.
That's what I was going to get at, because I think you got really lucky with finding a community that embraces creativity and collaboration. Because I know in Facebook, when about a year and a half ago, I wanted to really learn more about comics and how to create it, and it's like, so I walk into these other groups and go, hey, I have a story, how do I put together a comic book? And like the amount of mocking and teasing and snarkiness. It was just unbelievable. I was just like, oh, okay, you guys are not my people. And, had it been anybody who didn't have the confidence in what they were doing and wanted to continue on, it might have killed a couple of dreams, to have that kind of experience until you find your community, your people. So I think that you got really lucky in that sense.
Well, I would,
and then,
I
yeah,
would
go
say
ahead.
yes. It definitely grew. It definitely grew the passion a little bit more than I anticipated. That I would find that much strength, because it wasn't really a creative space that sort of like held any bars, standards or such, because everyone had like a level of had like a level of expertise and talent, but they haven't grown it just yet to where they wanted. And for that server, the main modus operandi is trying to develop and try to expand your range, sort of, and trying to find where you're going at and who you are as a creator. And that has just been like the best cultivation grounds for like learning and all that stuff. Not that I count that server as like the only thing. I have been actively involved in online spaces for quite a while, so I have like built reading lists and all that stuff and pulled from them. But as far as like any other community or like any other like creative space that exists out there, this one is the the cream of the crop. If you want like a positive input, because it doesn't judge as much as it tries to help. If people are actively going out for criticism, constructive criticism is the preferable method, and trying to pat each other on the shoulder, not out of empathy or sympathy, but trying to race with one another and have like friendly rivalry on top of that too.
I think rivalry definitely helps us become better. We strive for more, like that little bit of competition and one-upmanship. But when it's well-meaning, it can be really positive and really boost not only your morale, but the quality of your work. So, Jake, when you first decided, hey, I want to try and do this comics thing, did you have a certain direction? I mean, you said that you kind of fell into it, but I mean, I think when people, okay, so like 2020, obviously, because the world was shut down and all that stuff, there were a lot of people who had this extra time. And they're like, yeah, I see people crowdfunding. I see people who are putting these comic books together and stuff like that. And so they gave it a good try. But now that the world is starting to open up again, a lot of people are like, well, that shit's hard. I think I'm going to go and do that thing now. Right. So where are you in that? Do you feel like you've kind of found your niche, or, like, what do you think you're going to do with your art and maybe writing and developing your own IPs and stuff? Because it's not easy.
I've said like this multiple times in other streams that I'm a guy that doesn't shy away from doing practically anything and everything, despite it being very dark or very grim or controversial. Because I'm not a U.S. citizen, so but I'm believing in certain like principles that are being like aspired to. And one of them is the First Amendment, or at least like the right to free expression. But it is to sort of, for me, my goal and directions would be to being open to like an experience that hasn't been seen, that hasn't been like done as much, and probably like put a spin on it. I'm also a very like postmodern guy too, so I do like to spin things around and like break it down and like build it up again. So I'm not of like a classical what you would call a classical reader. So I'm definitely an outlier in some sense. And given that I'm situated in a place that doesn't really have like grand uh, a grand sum of like creators that are internationally known, I would say like that being like a cool challenge, like trying to put something on the map. Then again, I I know my limits, but I do try to play to my strengths, and I've created a lot of ideas and concepts for a better part of the last 3 years. So those could be nourishing me for like at least 2 lifetimes if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like a guy that want to be like a long running kind of like dude. I don't like doing long running things because I want to see it being finite and then sort of like move onwards with like projects. I announced earlier today one project. It will be like a strip comic called Bone Meal, and Bone Meal will. I would say that it would be like 200 or 300 strips if I wanted to go for that long, because it's sort of a crazy, absurd, inconsequential thing that shouldn't exist. It's just mainly it's mainly meant to vent a lot of creative anger against strip comics. But I I see that as being like a finite thing too. Nothing should be like run forever, and I'm more like a storyteller first. I don't like merch. I don't like expanding to that territory, but I want to create properties. That's for sure. So yeah.
So like 9 Volt Comics, because that's new to me. That's a collaboration with a whole bunch of creators, right? Would you say it's an anthology? Like an
Yes,
anthology series? Okay.
it's an anthology series.
So how does that work? Do they work with different themes? Is it like, hey, if you've got a story on horror, for example, or uh, fairy tales, because you've got a fairy tales campaign going on right now. What is that? Is it as a group they kind of come to a consensus, or is it something that the mods kind of get together and say, yeah, we want to develop this book? What do you guys think? How does that work?
So the AAA community has this very democratic uh, uh, procedure, in that people can vote for the next theme, or I would call them prompts, rather. But everyone has got like the chance to vote for whichever theme they want to go for. And we voted in the previous one to do manga
Oh, nice.
as a theme, but even that doesn't like encompass what manga is. And as the resident like manga guy on the server, I felt, man, we got a lot of different views and opinions on what manga is, and I'm trying to like be the best version of being like academic and critical of the whole like thing, because I'm really in love with this. But uh, that's sort of like the charm too. People's got like their own preconceived notions and preconceptions about what a thing is, and that plays out in the way that they present their art.
Mm-hmm.
And while we do this, we sort of like have a time. We got a soft deadline and a hard deadline, and everyone is trying to like work for the soft deadline, but everyone sort of to like the last minute, so that we like get the project out by then, because it's really easy. The editor-in-chief, Peter Seckler, Imperium Bowl, he arranges and calibrates the files, and just like paste them in together, and he ships them off like the PDF over to Lulu. And that has sort of like been the process for about 5 volumes now. So we're going in for like the 6th one, which will be a horror themed book. We kind of didn't need to take a vote on this one. We felt it was right to do a horror one.
Mm-hmm. 'Tis the season.
Right? How
the
appropriate.
season.
So, when people are invited into the server, is there kind of a vetting process for that too?
Not really. People are people. Yeah, they're like there's the automated system of like saying that there's a person who's arrived, and everyone just like, so hi, welcome.
Oh, I think we lost your mic for a second. Sideburns thinks that that you're probably hugging your mic. Not yet.
He's got a short on his cord.
Oh, I can hear
I'm
you now.
unsure. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I think I'm using the headset now. Damn, I'm unsure now.
Damn it, Jake! I'm gonna have to edit this damn video.
Oh.
No, you won't. It's all
No,
right.
I won't.
You
I'm
can listen
lazy
to little
like that.
white noise. You didn't even go fucking edit fake Van Skyver out yet.
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Look at you on the ball.
Jake, are you with us? Well, you know
Come
what?
on.
While he's figuring
Here.
that out, we have
How about now?
Oh, yeah, that's
better.
good.
Much better, because I was
Yeah,
going to say we
no,
can
no.
take a break while you're figuring that out.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't
Up in the
have to bump
fish
anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not
can you
trying to play
believe
the mic. I'm sorry.
we are almost 30 minutes in. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Here we go. For anybody who's tuning in just now, we are talking to Jake Twister. This is episode 35 of Ragin' With. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button from wherever it is that you're tuning in from, because we are simulcasting to Indie Volt, Geek Insider, Comics and More New Jersey, as well as Ragin' AVC. We'll be right back after this short little bump. Hey there, this is Meredith Loughran with Ragin', and I wanted to let you know that we encourage and promote independent creators and their projects through organic interaction, consultations, and more. Visit Nita and me at RaginAVC.com for details and contact information. Hit the button. And comic book fans, if you've got stuff that you need to send out, you want to protect it with a Gemini mailer, make sure you go to GeminiComicSupply.com and use coupon code VOLT10 for a 10% discount on your Gemini mailers. That's right. You can save 10% by using coupon code VOLT10. Thank you to Indie Volt, Varian Grant, for sharing that with our audience as well. And again, we are talking to Jake Twister here. We've got him for a little bit longer. Let me drop the card here. The man behind the avatar.
Man of
All right.
mystery.
So, if you were to describe the type of art that you love to do, like you could do it all day long, forever and ever, what would it be?
Black and white.
Mm-hmm. Like horror and...
Oh, you mean by genre? No,
Yeah,
I don't have
pick
any.
your genre.
I don't have.
Pick your
I don't
genre.
have like. I don't have any preference.
Black and
I'll
white
do
is
it in-
hard.
No, it's the best. I generally hate color. I prefer black and white whenever I get the possibility, because I prefer like hatches and feathers and all these like old traditional draftsman techniques rather than to consume color. So that's probably what drew me into like more indie work rather than mainstream, because I know that there's like an obligation to appeal to color. But I'll fight with anyone who says that color is superior.
Honestly, and Nita and I have had this discussion before. There are some stories that really work so much better with black and white, and then you add color, and a lot of times
it takes away from the art. It really
It-
does.
it would
Like I
either
see
take away from
Chris's
the
stuff
art-
get screwed up all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean,
Not only
because you
that-
might lose some of those finite details and things that
Mhm.
color will like kind of want. But then on the flip side of that, there are some times where color really makes the
Makes it
page
pop.
pop. Yeah.
I would say that if if you got a good colorist, you'll definitely notice that their control when it comes to the channels and the way that they're doing lines on specific probably more in realms of like elements like fire and wind and all that stuff. When the outline at least is not botched and it's like a fine balanced sort of like act between like a colored outline. I find that to be very pleasing, but I'm more reserved to see those techniques being used in animation rather than to have like in a comic. That being said, I do find works that are like that excel in colors, especially watercolor, because watercolor comics are cool. Not digital stuff, but I have like the propensity of like falling in for like screen tones and all that stuff. That's probably why I focus on manga and all that stuff, and why my influences draw a lot from that, and perhaps from works that are stark black and white.
Now, you said something about this earlier about the definition of manga and how so many people have so many different definitions. I want to hear your definition of manga.
Oh, people are going to flog me for even trying to attempt.
Do it.
Do it. Be unapologetic.
Come at me, bro.
In a literal sense, manga is translated as whimsical pictures, and it's sort of the traditional way of doing it right by going with that, by sticking with that definition, I think, because it's so controversial even in Japan to use it. Some refer to it as comics or komiksu, and but I think that has been like a dead and shut case. People have really like embraced it as being manga, and but for me, there's like a lot of things that encompass this whole realm. The same thing with like comics. Comics is not a great name for its medium. I would say that if there was like an option to like choose a colloquial defining like final term or like terminology to it, or a definition when it comes to like the medium, people would still like fall back into like using comics because it's an umbrella term. And same way for manga.
Interesting. Yeah, because the thing that pops into my head is the meme that I saw, like where Batman's smacking Robin upside the head, it's like it's manga, it's comics, it's the same, and it's like there are people who are really divided on that opinion, I mean, like very opinionated. So it's kind of interesting to see what your take on it is. Kind of simplified to keep yourself out of trouble, huh, Jake?
No, not at all. It's just that when people are discussing comics, they definitely have the eye for like the technical qualities to it. But manga get more like the storytelling. They struggle with like storytelling because it's more leaned into that, while it's encompassing a lot of genres and stuff. It's sort of like a unifier. The umbrella term serves a different purpose, rather, I would say. And I get really fumed when people are referencing on like technical stuff, but it's a side thing. And I've written probably an essay or two on that on the AAA community server, just lambasting and trying to like conserve all my anger at people who are just Philistines and not doing like the justice of like schooling people right and all that stuff. It really gets me, tis me.
Man, I wonder what it looks like to see you blow up.
I can't put a blame on them. They're too concentrated on doing work rather than to like express their opinions and all that stuff. So not everyone has got like the leisure to be a snob like me.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna be a snub about something, it's like know what you're talking about, right? Have some facts behind you, have some history and everything. So, I think that kind of speaks volumes because when we're passionate about something, you know, that's what we do. At least I hope so. At least that's what I do. You
Yeah,
know.
and I think it's been reinforced due to like my background and training in media studies,
Mhm.
because I, I genuinely love the comics medium for what it is and what more potential it still hides from the world. Everyone wants to be like in a confined space or like in a safe in like a safe realm of like where the medium is familiar territory to them. But I think that it can go much further and probably should rethread some of the old grounds that have been left by the old masters or like the old artists that were like the highlight and of the day way back. Like one of my favorite authors is Robert Crumb. No, no other guy can like do do trouble like him. And I,
Mhm.
uh, I learned a lot from Uncle Bob when it came to like doing art and all that. And I think there needs to be like in the revival era in more like a cyber setting. But I also want to like rigorously argue my way for it to be this way because there's a lot of impeding and intrusive things that are existing in the modern day that aren't really talked about to
Mhm.
that degree because everything is condensed to like 140 characters of hot takes and hot air. I would say for all the clout, when you could actually channel that through the art and have that speak for itself and be of more like an open interpretation rather than a closed message.
Yeah. Well, I think for me personally, um, I think that the creators, the independent creators, have a certain responsibility of speaking their truth. I'm not saying truth to all. I'm not saying woke or anything like that. I'm just saying, like they share their
Don't even use that
experiences.
word on here with me.
I know. And I, when you were just talking, the thing that popped into my head was the jester who had the stories, who could say the truth and not worry about losing his head to the king, um,
Mhm.
and from those the stories that we tell is important. And we were talking with Daphne Lage not too long ago about writing for creativity's sake because there's something in us that we need to get out. And like for me, I love writing horror. That doesn't make me a psychopathic serial killer. It's just
Questionable.
something. I don't have time for jail, Nita. I don't have time for jail. Okay. But so it's just one of those things. But like if I take from the things, I don't want somebody coming back at me and says, well, you write this nasty stuff, you must be a serial killer. It's like, no, this is the creative process. These are the voices that I have in my head. These are the stories that need to get out of me so I don't burst. And I think it's important that we have those creative outlets because otherwise we're just muted and half a person. Like don't be killing my soul. Don't stifle my voice and things like that. It's the same with music. I mean, the music industry, you do studies on it and how it affects your mood, how it affects your productivity. And things like that. But I don't think that it goes out and makes you do anything. How do you feel about that as a person who is in the creative field? Do you feel that it's kind of a responsibility to just stay true to yourself, or do you have messaging that you want to put out there? I mean, this might be tough territory. I don't. And
Did you just say, do you have an agenda? Is that a nice way of saying, do you have an agenda? That's what that sounded like, Meredith.
Possibly. And you don't have to
I
answer
guess
that. You can say, mind your own fucking business, Meredith. And I'd be okay with that.
No, let's approach this actually. There's a lot of underlying threads when it comes to that are topics that are tied into this. So there's like the art and the artist and the separation between them, and how people respond to art,
Mhm.
and how they conceive ideas, ideations, and how people are afraid of that. But an honest approach, I think, is the way that I want to like get into the things that I want to do. The problem is that people aren't exposed to things that call out for the ability to do it. Any person can be and become anything, but they aren't afraid of becoming or being. They are afraid of the ability to do the change, or for another person to become something that they cannot perceive of. That's sort of like the seeds of doubt that starts to build adversity with other people. And I want to call that out in a sense, because we created art as an expression to actually vindicate a lot of the things that we have in our mind in order to set ourselves straight. We need to realize that fact. I think it's also being lost to people that there are articles and stuff, and if we are to like to take that serious, the United Nations have the 30 articles where it's enshrined in, I think, Article 18 or 19 and 24, that people do have the right to express their free thoughts, to express their way of art. And it's a country by country basis as well, that there are definite rights for a person to express it within the realms of responsible actions and responsible reasons. Taking accountability of an artist to like show the world possibly how it operates and how it works. People have been doing that for centuries without having any problems, but it's always in the under the guise of security and stuff. It becomes more like an issue because they don't want things to be influencing people. But I think a lot of the misguided attempts of shying away other people from engaging with that art form only incentivizes them even more. So it's like that kid that are being told you can't view or see this, all that stuff. I was told that as a kid. I couldn't play Grand Theft Auto. I did at my friend's house, and I didn't grow up to become like a fucking gangster or a gangbanger, just like robbing people.
Well, how many
Or
cars have you stolen in your life, Jake?
What?
How many cars have you stolen in your lifetime?
About 26.
See?
No, I'm actually I'm actually a law-abiding guy. Don't worry about it. It's just that I'm blessed to like have lived the life before the internet and remember that time too, because now that people are sort of like not filtered, sort of more brazen about their stances on things, and not held back as like mass communication has developed so much and so wide that people now can buy like a private telegram or go onto anonymous boards and all that stuff and post whatever they want. They got unfettered, unfiltered access into things that are not being like shown or screened, and older generations can't fathom that sort of weight that implies and all that stuff. But I think people like me will try to uh, raise that awareness and try to sort of like put that in the art. In that, yes, we're in a different age now where it's not filtered or categorized, and I think that's what doesn't like entice me with a lot of works pre 9/11, pre 90s, except for like underground comics and things that are like very mainstream. Because the when we're going to like the American comics industry, a lot of it has been shackled, and it's only suffering the curse even worse nowadays because it tries to conform and it's been ruled by conglomerates that have no other like incentive than just like to get your money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, creativity will find a way one way or another, you know. I mean, if it's not mainstream, then they become the outliers, you know, and then they build up their networks and things like that, and it becomes a tight community. Um, yeah.
Definitely. And like sending out cyber flask posts isn't a bad idea either. That's why I'm also like I'm for like this is like an extreme opinion or like an extreme stance probably for a lot of people. I'm pro sharing. I don't care about I care about like owning the rights, but I don't care about how the methods of distribution.
Right.
Torrenting, for
Mhm.
instance, has become a disputed thing, but I can accept it because that's how a lot of the success for a lot of people was built on sharing it on Imgur as like a image file or like an image folder, sharing it on chats, sharing memes of the comics and all that stuff. We're in a different ecosystem right now, and it's been it has put the creative world upside down.
Hmm. And you know, there even though torrents have been around for ages, there are a lot of people who really don't know what the heck that is.
Yeah.
Do you have like a short definition of it? Like, how would you define it for those who don't know?
So you got a torrent is a file transfer. It happens in a peer-to-peer network. So there's like a machine that sends one file, and then there is another machine retrieving the file, much like how we upload uh, on the internet.
Yep.
But it's happening in more like a closed channel, and it's happening through a server. So there are multiple machines connecting to a server that are receiving a file transfer, and like machines can seed the torrent to increase the traffic or expand it so that it becomes like faster to upload download. But during the whole like revolution of the streaming years, peer-to-peer had like dissipated and torrenting had died out. But in a strange turn of events, people are now growing more tired of the whole like war or like the wrestling match that these services are going against each other. So now it's on the rise again for some reason. And I can't fault people because they can't pay out their ass. They can't pay for 5 services unless they're like really lucky and have like a good median income and all that. And that's how you gain traction through kids. Like there is 2 generations at best who have used torrenting as a means of getting to a product, because it's not just free, but it's also sort of like a test. Really, it's more like how do you say that in a metaphor? It's like viewing the product by engaging with it, and if it's good, you pick it up. You can have the ability to pick it up if it's affordable and it's available to you. It's just a matter of like, do you want to support the person? And a lot of these tactics are being like dissuaded as being like criminal or not a viable solution in the short term because people need money, creators need money. Yes, I understand that, but are you going to shackle yourself to only create one work then? Are you going to survive on that one IP, building that long game? No, you got to diversify. Just as a portfolio, you got to have to do different things that are of like different weights and tasks, and that comes into more like my side of like wanting to create as much as possible, so that there are things that are available for people on various levels. That's thinking for the customer, thinking for the potential of the thing while still wanting to present a quality in storytelling within these things.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, like, the easiest way that it was kind of described to me with torrents is like if you've got a whole bunch of faucets, right, and it's all going through a colander, and it's all being kind of filtered out and stuff and lands in the bowl, and what's in the bowl is kind of like your final product, but it came from all of these different sources and things. You know, and so it's basically a lot of people coming together to say, hey, I want this image, and each thing has its own piece of the puzzle to finally come together and create that. So I'm kind of curious, because the way that you're talking, I'm kind of curious if you're into blockchain and crypto and things like that too.
I was really intrigued when it came to non-fungible tokens taking off. Although there is the great discussion about the environmental effects of that, I believe that when the technology has developed more or less to be more green and can service people rather than to like make vapid art for like an investment of Ethereum or something, I would see that being like a legitimate alternative to sell digital copies, if chosen as a secondary market. In the sense that you could probably in the future, probably 15 years, see a lot of comics adopting into digital comics adopt to the second solution, and just like to than just paying PayPal or stuff, and actually allow for crypto. It's either like direct transfer, like directly wiring, but we'll have to like be cautionary about it, because no one can like predict the crypto market because of the
Right.
rise and fall of it. So
Right.
I'm wary about it, but I'm very interested in technology of it.
Yeah, I like the idea of the underlying blockchain, to be that living ledger, if you will, that's immutable. You can't change it, and so it's really good for time stamping your content. I also like the fact that there isn't like a single source of failure, because we rely so much on what we know, that a lot of the centralized organizations and things like that, uh, like torrents, they don't like torrents because you have a community of people who are coming together to get that one thing. And we don't normally address the comments and stuff like that, because it's not that type of show. But I do want to give a shout out to the people who are tuning in live right now. We've got Itchy5, Dory, Will from Creators Outlet, Sideburns. You're new to me. Welcome. Hit the button. Make sure you subscribe. We've got Art Anon Studios. Da Ninja Jenko is here. Glenn Fleming and ID Crisis. And ID said something in here which I'd like to bring up here. One IP leads to the next IP. Not being able to fund it kind of makes it harder to invest in the next idea. He says it's free, so the opportunity to sell that copy of work and all others after are lost. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what ID Crisis, he or she was referring to. It's free, so the opportunity to sell that copy of work and all others after.
Refer to torrenting.
Okay. And then one IP leads to the next. So how do you feel about, because you did say that before about sharing your art and things like that. I personally believe that it's a good idea. In fact, it's a marketing thing, where we give one PDF for free so that people get an introduction into your work and your product and you as a creator. And so some people are so afraid. They're like, no, I can't do that. That's just giving away the farm. I'll never make any money if I keep giving it away. It's just like the one. That's not a bad idea. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's inevitable that people would be wanting to upload it. And I'm also for what you would call piracy, in the sense that it serves other purposes, not only for consummation. There is the argument of archiving, in the sense that, and I think that a lot of people forget that piracy is the only way that you can only access a couple of things, particularly video games. Emulation of different files and all that stuff, like if emulation of like old titles and stuff, you can't buy these copies or get the hands on them, and the same principle should stretch out for any printed material as well. There are a lot of art books that are out of print. A lot of the OOP is like the measurement of like the long stay of like a thing in market, so it exists in the physical space for a certain time before reprint. And the thing is, I think it's important that people take in into consideration that for archival purposes and the survival of a work, it has to be digitally transferred and managed as such. The That being said, I can understand that people do have a worry when it comes to loss of the control of the art. But we're living so far now in a time that we can't like be beholden back by the old way of like I don't want my art to be out there. I don't want it to be stolen by other people, because it's like copying a file is as easy as like as making a like a copy, like a perfect math homework copy nowadays. And there are different like measures. Like Ardenon puts up the suggestion of releasing the 72 DPI file, for instance, as like a test sample of the product, while offering like a 600 to 1200 DPI PDF or other file, like an EPUB file or whatever, on the storefront as like an alternative. I've seen that being like being a strategy for people, but I see like there being like multi-purpose tools. All the suggestions that I'm like laying out has to be like seen through the veneer, or like in the sense of like being multi-purposeful, because it's not only one thing.
Mhm.
If you're locking yourself like to one reason exactly, you're shying away from all the other possible alternatives that come with in a sort of like a good. And I don't want that to be lost for other people to reconsider the fact that yes, all that material that you love and hold dear, it can be optional to save for a later generation that are being like too engrossed in the digital world rather than seeking out the physical one. But I'm a kid of my time, and a lot of other people are of their own time, and I can't fault them for being worried.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it takes a hot minute for people to get used to a new idea, or to pivot and try something new. Yeah, I'm. It's not easy for people to just change their mind think to from what's comfortable to what's not, and to kind of poo, if you will, the ideas of others because it's so strange from yours, or it's very alien, and that can be scary for people, and so there will be pushback. But I always say, kind of keep an open mind and see what comes of it. A lot of stuff will fail, but at least you tried, and to what you were saying, finding ways to make sure that our things are archived, that it's accessible.
Also, again, to reiterate, multi-purposeful
Mhm.
means in my mind as more like a function of being accessible.
Yeah.
So it leans a lot into a lot of accessibility, and I put myself into like a high strong standard when it comes to creating things, that I don't create and focus on one thing, like deadlocking one exclusive thing over time, because you'll be more poor creatively if you do not engage with a lot of other material and present that as being like an option for people to consume and getting that access. So like building shop the way that I want to do is very different from a lot of other people, because they will be probably more consumed and invested into creating something that will take a lot of time. But I'm of the opinion that if you want to stand out, you got to do more. You
Mhm.
got to be more.
Yeah. And your work, you hope that that's going to be recognized.
No, I don't like recognition. Actually,
You don't like recognition?
I hate accomplishment. I hate
no,
being
Jake.
I hate being revered. I genuinely can't. I can't handle compliments. Criticism, I'm fine as long as they're like constructive. But I can't, for the life of me, be taken taking compliment.
I feel you. I kind of do the same thing in my own way. You know what I want to do is make sure that I add this so that people are seeing available for a limited time. Okay. Twisted Fairy Tales, you guys, a comic book anthology is funding right now. It's got 31 hours left. You made it to goal. You've got 27 backers. There's a flexible goal here. Jake, you've got art in here.
I do. One page, unfortunately, out of 10.
Hey, dude, that's a credit.
It is.
Hey.
It's a comic book credit. What can you tell us about your story then?
Preface: the Twisted Fairy Tales is arranged by the CG UK BargainBin and edited by Jacobus. You can find him on Twitter under Jacobus Gotex, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the Twisted Fairy Tales is a 14-story jam-packed anthology filled with retellings and original stories about fairy tales, but with a slight twist to it. It is an adult book. It is not recommended for any children. It is meant not only as like an adult-oriented book, because we want to be a little bit more explicit, but it also serves people who need a little bit more entertainment of a higher caliber. And we figured that we could like be up to task. So we have here the reading list of different creators and a couple of page samples below. Mine is a little bit further down, but the main focus is that I'm trying to read my notes here. I didn't prepare for this at all.
Oh,
It's a gateway for
Put you on the spot.
creators. So it's a gateway for creators to demonstrate their skills and work, and they are showing off that, hey, you can do this too. And it's going to be rolling around 80 pages. I'm going to carry the brunt of it by featuring at least 10 of them. Hopefully, I'll be done. I'm still VIP. I got like 5 done, or like in construction.
Mm-hmm.
It is planned to deliver worldwide around October. So if you're itching for a book, don't worry. We got you covered. The story that I will be featuring will be a spin on a less heard of story called The Three Aunts, but instead of the aunts, it will be the three strumpets.
Okay.
And it will. There it is, the page. So it will be centered around the girl who has to leave home to get into the big world, and she happens to cross the tavern. Now, in the original story, she ends up in a castle in the service of a queen, and she has to spin. She had to spin a couple of article of clothing, and in like impossible tasks. But she's visited by through 3 knights, different women of very highly skilled seeming skills. But in my story, I have chosen it to be set in like a scummy inn with this tavern owner who whores her out for the night because she needed shelter. And she's saved by the graces of 3 strumpets for each night when it becomes a little bit too hard. So it will feature a little bit more explicit material. So it's not for virgin eyes, especially. So boobs and stuff. Yes, definitely in
boobs.
There.
Yeah,
don't
so...
be a boob. Get some.
So a book, definitely not for children. All right. Don't put it in the Christmas stocking.
I mean, if you want to do, if you want to, there is if you want to like give it up for Christmas stockings, we do have a 10 floppy bundle for $140 if you're interested. I would really recommend it for sharing because is caring. It is running up on 187%, and we only have a few more dollars to go before we hit the final stretch goal of the campaign, which will unlock I think a poster of Rapunzel or a card. I'm not really. I'm not. I'm sorry. I did not think of the stretch goals until now. But we have unlocked 2, which are illustrations of Snow White and Red Riding Hood. Well,
I want to ask about your particular story. Okay, so not a very popular one, but certainly one that's out there.
Sure.
Did you write it as well? Did you do that whole story, or did you collaborate with somebody? What was that collaboration like?
No, I worked alone on it.
Aha. So what was the idea that kind of ran through your head?
I do have like a collab. I do have like a collab partner, but it's the explicit partner of mine, Dexter Drive. And he's doing the art while I'm doing the writing. So the project is I would say that it's influenced by a lot of things, not only from like classical storytelling, but there is also from classical, or not classical, but modern art, in particular by Alphonse Mucha. You definitely see that in the one panel, or like the different panels that I'm doing with the women in the comic. And I try to write it as poetically as possible. Like I have like in the second page, I have like a panel that is formed like a keyhole, and like the main protagonist looks through the keyhole, and it says, and in the closet she witnessed the other side of womanhood unfiltered. And I'm like, yes. now I'm touching base with the romantic writing that I desperately crave for such a story. It's basically a story within a story. I'm not going to spoil it, of course. So I really hope this will pop off. We only have a few hours left. I don't know how many. Is it 31?
31 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have 31 hours to snag it.
It looks like a lot of fun. I love when people take the fairy tales and they twist it. They have that adult twist. I'm like, you are really fucked up in the head sometimes. Like, what were you thinking? Or thinking, or like, in some cases, like, did you lose a bet? I just, I think it's just so much fun. Like, how warped are you exactly?
Oh yeah, I pitched the whole thing, like the whole plot, to the editor back in April. Like I thought I did the whole thing in like less than 20 minutes.
Oh,
and he was impressed that that I was like really into it. But it's been a boxing match. I almost threw in the towel a couple of days ago because I didn't have faith in myself to like really finish the project in time. I was supposed to deliver it like today, but strangely enough, and I think that it's a theme of the show right now, or like something like a recurring thing. I moved.
So, oh my god, yeah, moving.
I'm post moving. I haven't. I'm not in the process of, but during the time I was like trying to do the thing, I couldn't concentrate. So, yeah. But I'll try to give it my all and try to fight it. And I've been dealing with this and the 9-volt anthology as well, and another story that I will try to like get my collaborator onto like working with me, because because I like his work as well. And we're going to try for submission for a Norwegian manga anthology later on.
Very cool. And I did want to address something that ID Crisis says. I'm not saying it's possible to be piracy free, but there's a concept here of promoting it. I disagree with that. That's like leaning into a punch. I agree with you. I am not necessarily for piracy. Piracy suggests theft. And theft of property, having been in prose for a long time, knowing a lot of people who are creative people out there, that's their bread and butter. And there's something to be said about making sure that those are protected. And then there's the other side of that, where if the creator is okay with it being distributed widely, at least the one thing. All right, I'm not saying go into your whole catalog, take it, and just
take all my shit.
Take all my shit. No, if you have that one fan who's out there who's like kind of sharing your stuff, the free sample and stuff,
people come back for more.
So no, I do not. I will not ever say that piracy is okay.
So
but it's more than a soundbite. That I think it's an important discussion to have, but not now because we're past our hour. But
we are. This was fast.
It went by really fast.
Interesting, dude.
It was a lot of fun, and we kind of got cerebral and a little technical too. But ID Crisis, definitely make sure that you put in some notes and things like that, because that is an important topic that I would like to discuss. Is the idea of piracy, of distribution, of giveaways and things like that. What crosses the line, what doesn't. Very important discussion.
Not a one that I would like to.
You wouldn't steal a police officer's.
I'm really passionate about the whole discussion too.
For sure.
I do have like limitations to it. It's not like I'm like,
it's not like, here, take all my
ahead.
Shit.
There is like there is a forethought to every move that you have to like do, and being in the position of like being pro something has to take to account for the cons, and especially when people are running cons. There's always added additions to it that I haven't even have time to brace on or even touch. There's a lot of like you might feel that there's a lot of surface here. Yes, it is, because it runs much more deeper in that. But you have to pay me for that information, and you can support me on Patreon. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have one.
But I was saying, it's definitely like I don't want to dismiss it, and I don't want to. No,
we could do that on a vlog or something.
That is something that we can do on a vlog. We can even have a panel, maybe,
for sure.
Ms. Nita, make sure that we have some people that we.
That's morning time for us, so Jake will be there.
Just something for a panel discussion, because I think that's important. I definitely am not for piracy, but there are certain levels, and I think it can be kind of subjective. I'm going to put that out there. You can send hate mail to me too, but
I'm gonna get some tomorrow anyway.
There are certain levels. There are certain levels, and certain amount of people who say, okay, that's an acceptable amount, and like, how is that defined? It really requires more than a soundbite here at the tail end of so of an interview.
Let's not monologue it right now.
No, we're definitely not going to, but we definitely want to talk about it. And thank you for bringing that up, because we don't necessarily promote that. We acknowledge that it exists. How do we work with that? How do we leverage that to make a profit from it too? So I think that's a good.
What was that? Was it a special issues episode? I heard.
Hey, dude, that's actually pretty clever. Yeah,
that's not bad, Jake. Hey, we knew we brought you on for a reason.
Somebody's a thinker in this group.
And Trish is tuning in as well. We thank you for tuning in. Glenn Fleming is here. Thank you guys, all of you who tuned in for the live stream. Make sure that you share out this program for the replay too. Share it out with your friends. Make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever it is you're tuning in from. Jake, where can people find you?
They can find me at the hellscape that is Twitter at JTVISTER, J Twister, or you could just look it up as Jake Twister. You'll find me fast. It's the same avatar, like the profile picture I'm using on the stream right now. And definitely not my asshole. Don't worry about that.
And Nita.
Yo.
Final words.
Throw my dudes.
All right. We're out here, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Love y'all.